That's what we do during our noonday worship experience, and I want us to continue to honor that tradition. Somebody say amen. And as you're preparing that gift, let me present the governor of the state of New Jersey. Governor Murphy is somebody that I call a friend. And I didn't mean to leave out Elder Derek Green, the senior advisor to the governor. Would you stand up? There's our leader, our chieftain in the state. Come on, let's give God praise for Elder Derek Green. But our governor is a friend and a brother beloved. Sisters and brothers, he is sincere, he is genuine, he is honest, he has integrity. He is someone that I communicate with at least bi-weekly, if not weekly. That we are communicating with one another, and it's not all about politics. Some of the times when we are communicating, it's about encouraging one another. It's about supporting one another. And I thank God for a governor that is trying to lead this state to be in a fairer state for everybody, regardless of race, color, or creed. He's leading this state to be a much fairer state. I think that's worth us giving God praise. I think that's worth giving God praise. You know, the late Dr. Martin Luther King once declared the church must be reminded that it is not the master or the servant of the state, but rather it is the conscience of the state. It must be the guide and the critic of the state and never the tool of the state. And so every now and then the governor will admit that we don't agree on some things when we are communicating. Some things we don't agree about, but guess what? We don't fall out about it because we're friends, and friends can disagree but still remain friends and move on to another agenda. Somebody ought to shout amen. And I thank God for having such a governor as that. And Mayor Baraka, when he don't agree with me, he'll reply with 2 words, God bless. But when he agrees with me, he'll reply with much more. He'll start getting churchy. He'll put amen and exclamation points and all of that in the call and response tradition of the black church. He'll start shouting back at me when he agrees with me. But I thank God for this kind of governor. In terms of education, he's increased K-12 school funding by $351 million. I think that's worth giving God praise. He's increased preschool funding by over $55 million, the largest increase in over a decade in the state of New Jersey. In terms of innovation, he's unveiled the statewide economic development plan to spur job and wage growth and create the country's most inclusive innovation economy. In terms of infrastructure, he's more than doubled state operating assistance for New Jersey Transit. He's eliminated the need for New Jersey Transit fares to be hiked up this year. Everybody that rides New Jersey Transit ought to be shouting up in this place. Equal rights for women. He signed into law the nation's strongest equal pay law in the history of this country. In terms of fiscal responsibility, he's enacted a millionaire's tax on incomes over $5 million, and somebody ought to wave their hands and say, thank you, Lord. In terms of supporting working families, he's expanded the earned income tax credit. He's created a child and development care tax credit. In terms of immigration, he's allocated $2.1 million in supplemental funding to help provide legal representation for residents facing immigration issues. In terms of criminal justice reform, he's established, Reverend Charles Boyer, the task force for the continued transformation of youth justice in New Jersey. For social justice, he's assembled the most diverse cabinet in New Jersey history. That's some of the things that this governor has done, sisters and brothers, in just 1 year. Somebody shout in just 1 year. Somebody shout in just 1 year. And I declare, eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, nor has it entered into the hearts of men or women what we shall be in this state of New Jersey under the leadership of Governor Phil Murphy. Come on, let's receive our governor at this time as he comes to lead us in his address. Isn't it fitting? He started his campaign with prayer at St. James during noonday, and he ends his first year here at St. James with his speech. Come on, let's welcome our wonderful governor of the state of New Jersey.
Wow. Most importantly, I want to give glory and honor to God. That's the most important thing I'm going to say. Que Dios te bendiga. Thank you so much, Reverend Dr. Slaughter, for your always gracious invitation to join you here at St. James A.M.E. Church, and you've got it exactly right as usual. It started here in our campaign, and we're ending our first calendar year here. I want to reiterate my congratulations, which I gave you many months ago, on your earning your doctorate degree. I thank you for your, I thank you for your unwavering support and friendship. I also thank you for being part of our Faith Leaders Council, with whom I've met throughout the year and whose guidance and support has been invaluable. You continue to embody the ideals of justice and fairness. I also want to give greetings not just to you, Reverend Slaughter, but to the First Family, to all the deacons, trustees, officers, members, and friends of this historic house of worship. It is great to be back. Amen. I also want to give a shout out to all the faith leaders. They stood up as a group across the whole spectrum. It's incredibly humbling to be with you all today. And by the way, Steve Hill can warm up for me anytime. It is always great to be in Newark, where I am a lot, and in Essex County. So I want to give a shout out in absentia to County Executive Joe DiVincenzo. I don't see Joe. I also want to give a shout out to the chairman, my chairman, Leroy Jones. Leroy, God bless you. I only wish that the state ran like Essex County, and that's our objective, so hopefully someday we'll get there. I want to give a big shout out to the guy sitting in seat 1A right in front of me, the one and the only, the mayor, Raz J. Baraka. And together, we talk all the time. I'm convinced that together we will take Newark to heights it's never seen before, right? I said during the campaign, I said it to the mayor and with the mayor, I said it to council president, Mildred Crump, what a treat to have you here. I hope you brought a hats for the rest of us. I would love to. I said with you all that Newark needs a governor who will stand with you and not stand on your neck. And as you take on the challenges facing the city, the state stands with you, I stand with you, period. And to the other elected officials, Councilwoman McIver, Mayor Fife, what a treat. To the other elected officials who are here today, I'm humbled to be with you. Reverend Slaughter, you and by the way, to all members of the faith leaders who are here, I'm incredibly humbled, but particularly I got to give a shout out not just to Reverend Slaughter, to my nephew here, Reverend Dr. Kenneth Saunders. Bless you. I don't know where we'd be without you either. Reverend Slaughter, you and the community here at St. James have always been gracious in inviting me and my family to this house of worship. And I have to say, when I'm here, I feel at home. I always leave this sanctuary a better person than when I entered. Today surely will be no different. I thank you all, to Reverend Slaughter, to everybody in the St. James community, from the bottom of my heart, for your friendship and support. I also know what the deal is on the Wednesday service, so I got to get at it and start talking here, because I know we're under the clock here. Yeah. All right, that's all right. We'll cancel the rest of the day. I got nothing else going on. 11 months and a couple of days ago, I put my hand on a Bible, by the way, that was once owned by President John F. Kennedy's family, and it was the Bible that he put his hand on when he was sworn as President of the United States. And I swore my oath as governor. I pledged on that day in January, as I do on this day in December, that I would be a different kind of governor. I had to be. After the previous 8 years of neglect and division, New Jersey needed a new focus. We needed a new direction, right? We needed to have our faith in our home state restored. I asked you to lift me in your prayers, and you did. And today, New Jersey is on a new path and headed in a new trajectory, and thankfully facing in the right direction again. And importantly, we're doing this as one family, all 9 million of us. Black and brown and white, people of all faiths, of all ethnicities, and of all backgrounds. Those who are both new to our state and those who have stayed and fought for a better day. I promised that I would be your governor, not the governor of special interests. Yeah. Right? In many ways, ours has sometimes felt like a David versus Goliath struggle. But we all know how that ended. And as we look to the new year, I am looking for a few more Davids to join those of us who continue to fight so hard for our shared values. The Goliaths shouted loudly that our progressive coalition could not come together to make our state more just and fair. The Goliaths shouted loudly that our economy could not be both stronger and fairer. But I'm proud to say today that we picked up our stones of faith, resilience, and unity. Why? Because we are prevailing. To be sure, we have made significant progress this year toward making a stronger and fairer state and to resetting the basic deal of fundamental fairness that New Jersey has had on the table for many years, but which had diminished over the past decade. And Reverend Slaughter already alluded to some of this, so I'll be brief. We enacted one of the nation's strongest protections for equal pay for equal work. I was not going to be a governor who looked the other way and allowed long-standing racial injustices in pay continue unchallenged. The facts are simple. An African-American woman in New Jersey was making only 60 cents on the dollar being paid to a white male doing essentially the same work. Wow. We are seeing to it that that woman and every woman of color will make $1 for every $1 a man makes. At the same time, we gave every worker in our state the peace of mind that they can take a day off from work when they're sick or need to tend to a sick family member without fear of losing a day's pay. Amen. A paid sick day shouldn't just be a benefit given to some workers, but to everyone. And today, that is the law of this land. We have taken a series of steps to combat gun violence that has been a regular part of life in too many of our urban neighborhoods, including right here. We enacted a whole set of new laws that have restored New Jersey as a national leader in gun safety, and we will enforce those laws. We are going after the illicit guns that have flowed into our communities from other states with weaker gun laws, and we are shaming and naming those states for their inaction. Our nation has been shocked by the mass shootings we have seen recently. But, and this is not either or, these are both realities. Make no mistake, we are acting on behalf of the neighborhoods where memorials to those lost to guns exist on too many street corners and where too many families have come face to face with the loss of a loved one. All too often, a young person of color who never had the ability to reach their full potential. Wow. God bless them all. Yeah. We restored access to health care for tens of thousands of women, especially minority women in our cities, by fully funding Planned Parenthood and other essential women's health programs. And what some folks don't get, but we get, for many, these clinics are their doctor's office, where they can receive potentially life-saving tests for cancer and care for other diseases and conditions. We will ensure that they remain open. We fought to protect the Affordable Care Act and successfully lowered rates in the individual marketplace by more than 9%. We are proof that a state which stands up for the principles of the Affordable Care Act can end up with, guess what? More affordable health care. In cities like Newark, and the mayor and I have talked about it, and across our state, African American women are 5 times more likely to die of complications of childbirth than white women. And the First Lady, by the way, who sends her love and blessings, has made tackling this inequity a particular focus of hers, bringing together leaders from across the community in this fight to save both our mothers and our children. I am grateful for her work and for the partnerships that she has forged. In our state budget, we began, as Reverend Slaughter alluded to, we began the process of fully funding our public schools and expanding pre-K programs so every child in every community can have the tools that they need to get not only a strong start in life, but also the tools they will need to have a successful life. This includes new partnerships and programs to bring technology-based education to more of our classrooms, so more students and a more diverse group of students, importantly, can prepare for good jobs in the innovation economy. We also made a strong first step to opening the doors wide for more of our residents to attain a higher education. One of my goals is to make a community college education tuition-free for all who are willing to work for one. Right? And if you haven't been to a county college lately, you'd be surprised by the extraordinary diversity, including of age. So this includes from the new high school graduate to the older student returning to learn new skills for a new career. I am so proud that starting next month, roughly 13,000 students, many of them students of color, will be attending community college in the state of New Jersey tuition-free. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Yeah, I love you, man. I love you. Gene Kruper, eat your heart out over there on the drums. I love you. We have begun, and again, Reverend Slaughter referred to this, we've begun the process of turning around NJ Transit so it can once again provide safe and reliable service. And I've said many times recently, we're going to fix it even if it kills me. And it might. I have not for 1 minute, by the way, and this is important because we talk a lot about rail, I've not forgotten for 1 minute that more residents, especially those in cities like Newark, rely upon NJ Transit's bus services than any other service it provides. Under our leadership, NJ Transit has hired 300 new bus operators to keep the lines running, and next year we're going to take delivery of 182 new buses. On all of these issues and more, this has been a year of real progress. But we're not spiking the football. And I don't intend to sit back now. We have momentum and we still have more to do. I remain optimistic that early in 2019 that I will sign a new law to put New Jersey on a clear and responsible path to $15 an hour minimum wage. Yeah. That will lift up more of our families and allow them to be fully part of our state's economic rebirth. I'm only frustrated we haven't gotten it done yet, but we will get it done. You have my word. We desperately need to both grow our middle class and restore the dreams of those in poverty and working poor who look up, as I did when I was a kid, and aspire someday to get into the middle class. But we cannot do that when too many people right now are earning $8 and 60-odd cents, and next month we'll get a whopping increase to $8.85 an hour. Unconscionably, we allow people working full-time to still earn a poverty-level wage. That is completely unacceptable. Moreover, we know that a $15 minimum wage will ultimately lift up 1/4 of our state's workforce. Nearly 2/3 of those who benefit work full-time, and nearly half have attended or graduated college. Well more than half are women, and nearly 30% have children. So there's a lot of myths out there about minimum wage and who's going to get impacted. Those are overwhelmingly adults, in many cases with degrees, in many cases of color, in many cases women, and in many cases with kids. We've got to rescue them and lift them up. And by the way, when they get that raise, they will help lift up local economies and small businesses. We have to remember that this is not just about politics, but it's about people's lives and futures. So too is ensuring that everyone can have a say in the future that we create together. This is why I've made opening up our democracy and expanding access to voting a key priority. This year, I proudly signed one of the nation's most sweeping automatic voter registration laws, which makes us a model state. But I don't want that to be our only action. I remain committed to seeing New Jersey join those states that have honest to goodness early in-person voting so more people can more easily exercise their rights. How many years are we going to be looking at the weather report for exactly what's happening in this year's case on November 6th? Or what happens if your train breaks, or your bus is late, or you're a senior and you're having a hard time getting to the polling on one day? That's crazy. Let's make this 30 days that you can vote. A lot of other states do that. We've also called for online and election day voter registration. And I'm ready to work with the legislature to see the full restoration of voting rights for individuals currently on parole or probation. Amen. We cannot be true to the ideal of preparing individuals for re-entry if we continue to stifle their ability to vote, period. And I want to give a shout out to my friend on my left here. Few people know the importance of this better than Reverend Slaughter. We've had many discussions about the need for not just comprehensive criminal justice reform, but for ensuring that we welcome those who have served their time back into our society as full men and women. His commitment to this principle is one of the reasons I nominated him to serve on the State Parole Board, and I look forward to your service, Reverend. God bless you. That commitment also runs through our ongoing effort, and forgive me because this is not one without controversy, that commitment also runs through our ongoing effort to legalize adult use marijuana. Now, I understand and respect the feelings of those who continue to oppose this, but here are some undisputed facts. Number one, New Jersey spends an estimated $140 million per year adjudicating low-level marijuana possession offenses, leaving too many of our residents with a stain on their records that blocks them from an education or a job. This money would be better spent being reinvested in our communities instead of hollowing them out. Secondly, marijuana-related arrest rates are tilted 3-to-1 against African Americans, even though rates of marijuana use are similar among races. This has helped drive us to having the widest black-white disparity in incarceration in the entire United States of America, a staggering 12-to-1. And I get to this, by the way, singularly because of the social justice inequities, or the social injustices. That's why I got behind this. A third thing I want you to keep in mind, our urban neighborhoods have been hardest hit by the misguided war on drugs. In their economic development, in healthcare and housing, childcare and after-school programs, and in shouldering the cost of mass incarceration. And we cannot ignore that society looked the other way as the opioid epidemic devastated our urban communities long before it made mainstream headlines. Yes, sir. Right? We must finally do right by these communities. Ignoring these realities will not put the corner dealer out of business. It will not help us protect our kids, and it will not end the racial disparities that exist. I remain committed to enacting a responsible law that opens up economic opportunity for local business people and which will create jobs in our neighborhoods. I remain committed to signing a law that does right by those who carry criminal records for past possession arrests. On these points, I have never wavered and never will. Legalization is at its heart a matter of criminal justice reform, and it will be one of other broad efforts. It won't be the only effort. Earlier this year, I reconstituted the Criminal Sentencing and Disposition Commission in East Orange. Chairman Jones was right by my side, and I look forward to receiving their comprehensive review of all of our sentencing laws. I wasn't expecting it, I'm also very encouraged by the bipartisan criminal justice reform that is in the process of passing in Washington. It is not perfect, by the way, but it is a big step in the right direction, and I think we owe Senator Cory Booker a big thanks for that. Meanwhile, we'll open up other new opportunities for good jobs and affordable housing. I recently, as Reverend Slaughter said, I recently put forward a vision for an economy driven by reigniting the potential that can be found in cities just like Newark. Proud cities with great people and endless possibilities. And we are giving leaders like Mayor Razbaraka the tools to turn that possibility into reality. But and this is really important to us, and I know it is to you, but have no doubt, this vision is just as much about rewarding those who have fought and stayed through the struggles as it is about anything else. I see too many of Newark's neighborhoods literally cleaved in half by empty parking lots or by former industrial sites that sit like a blot on a proud urban landscape. But I also see these as places where we can bring new housing opportunities to the city, and in a way that builds thriving and interconnected communities where small businesses can be born and where the arts and education and culture can flourish. Much of this progress will be found in our opportunity zones. Again, I want to give a shout out to Senator and former Mayor Cory Booker. These are areas where new private capital investments can have an outsized impact on job creation and quality of life. Across Newark and its neighbors, Irvington, East Orange, where I just met with Mayor Green, and Orange, 23 areas or census tracts have already been designated as opportunity zones. These areas put together will create an unmistakable energy. These are areas, by the way, where there's extra incentives for private capital to come in where they otherwise would not go and invest and create reborn communities. And here in Newark, several of those opportunity zones have already been recognized as among those with the most potential of any in the entire United States. Let there be no doubt, this is Newark's moment. This is a city on the rise, and through our work, we're going to watch it rise together. And that brings me back to where I started. When we took office 11 months ago, we looked out and saw a state that had over the 8 years prior become more divided, with less opportunity and greater inequality. We saw too many families falling behind. We saw too many of our communities still fighting an uphill battle against gun violence, against access to affordable health, and for equal opportunity. We came in and sounded the trumpets that these inequities will not stand. And like the walls of Jericho, they have begun to fall. Yeah. But we will not let up. We cannot let up. We cannot stop until all of those walls crumble for good. So I thank you not only for hearing me out and joining us today, but joining me in this cause. And I ask you to recommit in the new year ahead. Some of you know that my favorite line of scripture is from 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. As it is Christmas, as it is Christmas time, I know that we're already filled with the spirit of love. But let's ensure that the power of the season flows through us so that we may meet the new year without fear, but with powerful and sound minds. Yeah. I thank you, Pastor Slaughter, as always, for the opportunity to join you here at the iconic St. James Church. I look forward to seeing you all again soon and often. I wish you all a merry and blessed Christmas. May God bless us all. May God continue to bless the great state of New Jersey and the United States of America. Thank you.
Oh, come on, we can do better than that. Let's give God praise for our